But this was the first time we saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can shut up the comparisons right now.
The whispers started in shadowy boardrooms and executive suites long before the public heard them. The WNBA, finally tasting mainstream success, had a problem. Their golden goose, Caitlin Clark, was a phenomenon, but a phenomenon facing a brutal physical onslaught every night. So a new plan was hatched: create a successor, a new queen, groomed and protected, to carry the torch. And they chose Paige Bueckers. But what they didn't count on was reality. And on one fateful night, their entire charade was brutally exposed.
Of one Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you. It exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment on the court.
The media coronation of Paige Bueckers was a masterclass in narrative construction. Hailed as the most pro-ready prospect since Brianna Stewart, her game was described with words like flawless, poised, and cerebral. They celebrated her UConn pedigree, a factory for champions, and contrasted her smooth, efficient style with what they subtly framed as Caitlin Clark's high-volume, reckless approach. Bueckers was presented not just as the next star, but as the smarter star, an evolution of the position. The storyline was set. The gunslinger would soon be replaced by the surgeon.
Diva of Dump Divas Kat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick: "No Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season."
It didn't take long for the propaganda machine to bear fruit. The headlines practically wrote themselves when Bueckers became the fastest player to reach 200 points and 50 assists in just 11 games, eclipsing Clark's record by a single game. Analysts fell over themselves to declare the dawn of a new era. They pointed to her sky-high shooting percentages as undeniable proof of her superiority. But what they never mentioned was the context. Those numbers weren't earned in the crucible of defensive fire. They were harvested in the carefully tended gardens of soft coverage and preferential treatment. This record wasn't a milestone. It was a mirage.
It's a little bit different, huh? It's a little bit different out here when you get Caitlin Clark treatment. It ain't so easy peasy getting to play one-on-one, getting to just do your thing how you want to do it, when you want to do it. Paige Bueckers got the Caitlin Clark treatment for one game, and it got up.
And then came August 22nd, 2025, a date that will live in WNBA infamy as the night the illusion shattered. The Dallas Wings traveled to Seattle, and the Storm, led by a defensive mastermind in Noelle Quinn, decided to run an experiment. They weren't just going to play Paige Bueckers. They were going to give her the full Caitlin Clark treatment. For the first time, Bueckers would face a defense designed not just to stop her, but to physically and mentally dismantle her. The league was about to get a front row seat to what happens when hype collides with a brick wall.
She went off in a game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points, but the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field, and I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like, Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring. And I think with that, these are some big numbers, and those are some props that need.
To understand the sheer brutality of that night, you have to remember what Caitlin Clark endured from her very first game. It wasn't just basketball, it was a gauntlet. We all saw the Chennedy Carter hip check, a blatant non-basketball play that revealed the league's dark underbelly. But that was just one moment in a season-long campaign of targeted aggression. The numbers are staggering. 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire 2024 season were committed against a single player, Caitlin Clark. She was shouldered, pushed, and hit with a relentless barrage of physicality that often crossed the line. Players were openly instructed to get into her, a coded message for borderline assault. She wasn't being welcomed to the league, she was being targeted for elimination.
For the game, you said it's going to be important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of, made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated well, and everyone who ended up being on Paige from E on down, I thought we were very.
But the assault wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The media, in its quest to build a two-sided narrative, actively participated in painting Clark as a villain. Her on-court passion was framed as immaturity. Her competitive fire was labeled as arrogance. They created a caricature of a brash, trash-talking upstart who needed to be put in her place. This narrative implicitly justified the aggressive tactics used against her. She was just getting a taste of the pros. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers was cast in the opposite role, the humble, quiet, universally beloved hero. Her composure was celebrated, her low-key demeanor praised as a sign of maturity. It was a classic good versus evil script, designed to manipulate public perception and crown a new, more controllable queen.
Paige Bueckers got Caitlin Clark treatment for the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor, letting her post up in the mid-range area one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what she wants to do.
This manufactured dynamic led to a clear on-court disparity. While Clark was fighting a war in the trenches, Paige Bueckers was floating through her rookie season on a velvet rope. The league, desperate to protect its shiny new toy, seemed to send a league-wide memo, hands off the merchandise. Defenders gave her space, avoided contact, and allowed her to operate in a comfortable bubble. It was a stark and undeniable contrast. Clark was treated like public enemy number one, a threat to be neutralized by any means necessary. Bueckers was handled like a protected species, an asset whose value depended on her staying pristine and untouched. The kid gloves treatment was real, and it built a false sense of security that was about to be shattered.
Because she got blitzed, she got doubled. And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed and doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times. Paige shot the ball 7.
The strategic difference was never clearer than in the coaches' playbooks. For Caitlin Clark, the game plan from opposing teams wasn't about defense. It was about annihilation. Coaches didn't just tell their players to be physical. They designed schemes rooted in aggression, sending multiple bodies to hit her on and off the ball. It was a strategy of attrition. In stark contrast, the plan for Bueckers was simple containment. Before the Seattle game, defenses played her honestly, respecting her skills, but never crossing the line into targeted assault. That all changed when Storm coach Noelle Quinn laid out a new blueprint. She said it herself. After scoring 44 the other night, for us to be able to contain that, we have to be physical. That was the coded message. The translation? It's time to see if this princess can handle the Caitlin Clark treatment.
Paige Bueckers, let me ask you this. How did it feel to be blitzed and played 94 feet before you even get a chance to bring the ball up court like your name was Caitlin Clark, a.k.a. my precious Cece? You didn't like that, huh? You hear me? You out there was looking like you was about to cry. Yeah, so what do your fans have to say now? Excuse me, where are you Paige Bueckers fans at? That's y'all MVP and face of the league, right? She's boring. She's not good enough. She gets special treatment. But understand, she kept getting blitz after blitz after blitz after.
This is the hidden truth behind the efficiency myth. Pundits would point to Bueckers' 47.4% field goal percentage and sneer at Clark's rookie season mark of 41.7%. They painted this as evidence that Bueckers was more polished, more ready. But they ignored the battlefield. Clark's shots were the most difficult in the league, heavily contested, often taken with a defender's hand in her face after fighting through 3 screens and a body check. She was the sole focus of every opponent's defensive scheme. Bueckers, meanwhile, was feasting on open looks and defensive breakdowns from teams that were clearly instructed to guard her with a lighter touch. Her efficiency wasn't a product of superior skill, it was a product of manufactured circumstances.
Look up how the WNBA played against Caitlin Clark in terms of the defensive strategy, in terms of the other basketball teams around the WNBA. What they did against Caitlin Clark versus how they've handled Paige this year. Everybody wants to act like Paige is so much better than Caitlin. They're certainly not playing defense on Paige the way they played on Caitlin. They're certainly not attacking her with unnecessary fouls the way they attacked Caitlin with unnecessary fouls last year. So in the 2024 season, there were 35 flagrant fouls called. Caitlin Clark received 17% of the entire season's flagrant fouls, 17%. I mean, we've seen all the injuries, we've seen all the fights, the MMA fights that the WNBA players have gotten into this year. There haven't been 35 flagrant fouls called.
The moment the Seattle Storm decided to break that unspoken rule, the facade crumbled. From the opening tip, Bueckers was blitzed. Brittany Sykes and Skylar Diggins-Smith took turns hounding her full court, denying her the ball and challenging her every move. When she did get it, double teams arrived instantly. The space she was used to vanished. The open looks were gone. For the first time, Bueckers looked hesitant, rattled. Her smooth offensive rhythm disappeared, replaced by panicked dribbles and forced shots that clanked off the rim. She finished with a measly 11 points on a disastrous 2 of 11 shooting, with 0 assists and a mere 2 rebounds. The stat sheet looked like a participation trophy. The cerebral superstar was completely outsmarted and outmuscled, a ghost on the court.
She was minus 17 on the floor. She had 0 assists and 11 points. 0 assists. 0 assists. That's mental. That's mental for a player that they were trying to say was better than Caitlin Clark. And I'm not even going to say, oh yeah, the points are everything. Points aren't everything at the end of the day. Assists aren't everything. Like, all of these individual stats aren't everything. It was just the fact that she literally... How many blitzes did the Indiana... Or how many open shots did the Indiana Fever get off a Caitlin Clark blitz? And albeit, it's very different when you have a short roller in Aaliyah.
After the game, the defenders of the narrative immediately pointed to her injury history as an excuse. They whispered about her torn ACL and the long road to recovery, framing it as a reason for sympathy, but they had it completely backward. Her history of serious injuries isn't an excuse for her failure, it's the very reason she was destined to fail. The WNBA is a league of elite, powerful athletes. The physical punishment Caitlin Clark absorbs nightly would sideline a lesser player. Bueckers' body has already proven fragile at the collegiate level, costing her an entire season. The idea that she could withstand the same level of aggression as Clark isn't just optimistic, it's pure fantasy. Her physical limitations are the fatal flaw the media chose to ignore.
And when you guard a player like Paige, it's not just relying on, your guards, whoever has the main matchup, but it becomes a team picture and understanding, rotations on the ball, off the ball. And I think the other thing that we did, early on, we rebounded decently out of it. We didn't give up too many. I think it was 12 second chance points at the half, but not a lot of deflating possessions after having a lot of deflections and things like that.
But the disparity goes beyond individual toughness. It's about their fundamental impact on a team. Caitlin Clark possesses a rare gravitational pull that elevates everyone around her. Suddenly, Aaliyah Boston looked like the dominant force she was drafted to be, feasting on perfectly placed passes. Kelsey Mitchell got more open looks than ever before. Clark's presence fundamentally altered the geometry of the court for the Indiana Fever. Paige Bueckers, for all her supposed efficiency, has proven to be a statistical black hole. Her impressive numbers exist in a vacuum, failing to translate into team success. The Dallas Wings remained a disaster, a lottery team looking like they wasted a #1 pick on fool's gold. She doesn't make her teammates better. She just coexists with them.
I bet she would have had at least 9 to 10 assists. You hear me? Because she's more than just a scorer. You hear me? Unlike Paige Bueckers, she's only a scorer. She's not dynamic. She's boring. You hear me? Clearly she fits the narrative, but she can't handle being double team or triple team. She was out there looking like a regular degular. You hear me? Paige who? Huh? What Paige are y'all talking about? The Paige who can't even sell out their own arena unless they playing against.
What happened in Seattle wasn't just a bad game, it was the collision of a player with their exposure wall. Every rookie hits a wall, a point in the long season where the physical and mental fatigue sets in. But Clark faced that wall while simultaneously absorbing a level of physical punishment unprecedented for a rookie. She was exhausted, bruised, and targeted, yet she fought through it, breaking records and leading her team into playoff contention. Bueckers' collapse wasn't due to fatigue. She folded at the first sign of real, concerted defensive pressure. She didn't hit a rookie wall. She hit a reality wall. It revealed a lack of fortitude that can't be coached or developed.
Did you just say Paige Bueckers will save the WNBA season? This season? The same Paige Bueckers that's dating Elmer Fudd? The same Paige that plays in front of empty civic centers for the Dallas Wankers? You expect me to believe she is going to save the WNBA season? She can't even sell out home games. Matter of fact, she doesn't come anywhere close to selling out games. The Wankers rank near the bottom of the league in attendance.
This reveals the ultimate truth about their value. Caitlin Clark took a cellar-dwelling Indiana Fever team and made them the hottest ticket in sports. She single-handedly drove up viewership, ticket sales, and merchandise revenue for the entire league. Arenas were sold out. TV ratings shattered records. She didn't just win games. She changed the economic reality of women's basketball. Paige Bueckers, for all her manufactured hype and protected status, can't even lift her Dallas Wings out of mediocrity. They remain irrelevant, a non-factor in the playoff race. This is the difference. Clark's value transcends statistics. She is a franchise-altering, league-defining force. Bueckers is just a good player on a bad team. This entire saga exposes the media's grand deception. The Bueckers versus Clark rivalry was never real. It was a marketing ploy, a desperate attempt by the league and its partners to create a sustainable narrative now that the Clark phenomenon had hooked a new audience. They needed a new storyline, a new challenger to the throne to keep the drama and the money flowing. They pointed to shooting percentages while ignoring context. They ranked Bueckers 13th in their mid-season rankings, propping her up with manufactured praise. Paige Bueckers wasn't a rival. She was a sacrificial lamb propped up by a system that was always going to abandon her the moment she couldn't live up to the impossible standards set for her. The fallout from that night in Seattle was immediate and catastrophic for the league's secret agenda. The Storm didn't just beat Paige Bueckers, they created a blueprint. Suddenly, every defensive coordinator in the WNBA had the formula: be physical, be aggressive, and she will fold. The narrative of her being the next Clark died on the court. The WNBA's marketing plan, built on the fragile foundation of a manufactured rivalry, was left in shambles. They had invested so much in creating a successor that they were now faced with the terrifying reality that their biggest star was, and always had been, in a class of her own. In the end, the Seattle Storm didn't just expose Paige Bueckers, they exposed the entire manufactured system. They proved that there is no next Caitlin Clark. She is a once-in-a-generation talent, whose impact is measured not just in points, but in cultural relevance. The attempt to clone her success with a new, more palatable star failed spectacularly because they misunderstood what makes Clark special. It's not just the logo threes, it's the toughness, the resilience, the unyielding will to win against a league that was at times trying to break her. The Queen still sits on her throne, the gold standard for a sport she elevated, and as the hype machine sputters and dies, the only question left is who they will choose to build up and destroy next.